I'm just going to find a way to get out of this. So, first, everyone in this film probably didn't want to be there, but their characters seem happy to be there. Second, if you watch the Adam West television series, who here likes that series? Okay. Binge watch the back half of season 2 into season 3, and then watch this film. And you will realize it is a legit continuation of that gestalt. And I say the third season because it's kind of the worst and had the weakest episodes, so it kind of primes you for this. Second, I really think that what everybody forgets about this movie is that at its heart, I want to say it's about family, but that's cheesy. But at its heart, there are some really emotional scenes between Bruce and Alfred. Because Alfred in this film is dying. And, you know, it's easy to forget that because you have Arnold Schwarzenegger in a robe watching Rankin and Bass Christmas specials, which is why I'm surprised this isn't Kevin's favorite Batman. And the puns and the fact that you have like a Predator reunion when Mr. Freeze is brought to Arkham because Jesse the Body Ventura is one of the guards. The other guard, by the way, is named Ralph Mueller, and he played Conan on the live-action syndicated Conan series from the late 90s. So, but there is, to me, a relationship between Bruce and Alfred where suddenly Bruce has to take care of Alfred, whereas Alfred, for Bruce's entire life, has had to take care of him. And this is an older Bruce, and one of the things that they decided upon in doing this film is that they were going to show a Bruce Wayne that is not as full of angst. Now, a lot of Batman fans, because Batman is a Rorschach test, would look at that and say, well, that's not my Batman. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be your Batman, but it is a Batman. And it is a legitimate Batman because if he's going to be angsty and like angry all the time, you're constantly going to be stuck in the middle of the second act. And this seems to be a Batman kind of heading into his third act and gathering even more of a family around him. Adding Batgirl, okay, beat for beat, this film is a remake of Batman Forever. I'll admit that, where you just replace Batgirl with the Robin scenes from Batman Forever. But again, she comes in and she's the first person to really look at the dynamic of the Wayne household and go, you two rich layabouts, my uncle, which I'm kind of curious at how, they never say great uncle, and that picture of her mother is really old, so I'm just I want to see some dates is what I'm saying. But really, she comes in and she goes, he's been taking care of you for his entire life, now I'm going to take care of him. So there's this serious sense of family to this movie, but really and ultimately, there is someone, in quotes, to blame for this film. Is it the toy companies that got in on the ground floor of the development of the film and dictated how things work? No, that's their job. Was it Joel Schumacher? I don't think it's his fault. He's a director working for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is not an independent film studio. Those executives have something to say about a billion-dollar franchise. Is it Akiva Goldsman? I don't really blame him either. Again, he wrote what he was told to write. Do I blame the cast? Oh, heck no. They're actors. This is their job. They were given a script. Yes, they had a choice, but would you want to be given a choice between not working and being in a summer blockbuster film? I'm sure most actors would want to be part of that. I actually figured out who's to blame. It's you. And here's why. In 1989, 30 years ago, the Tim Burton Batman film hit theaters and became a legitimate phenomenon. And while I will say, because I don't want the well actually guy to pop up in the middle of this, while I will admit there are probably some Batman fans that did not like the tone of that film, it really grabbed a wider audience. And what it said was, we want a darker Batman. Now, sidebar, Your Honor, I will admit that watching Batman 89 now is like watching the 60s series back in 1989. That film is campy, but in 1989 we treated it deadly serious because it was dark. It had a Danny Elfman score before he became the guy. And it was directed by Tim Burton, who was considered, well, he's still considered quirky, but you know. And because the film was so successful, and because studio executives respond to what they perceive as the audience's expectations, they felt they had to bring him back for Batman Returns. Tim Burton didn't want to come back, but they said you can do whatever you want, which is, I think, the kiss of death for most comic book properties. Now, I am not saying that Batman Returns was a bad movie. Conceptually and visually, it is stunning. I'm not a fan of it, but I won't sit here and tell you it's a bad movie. But it scared the living hell out of most of the mothers of America, because at the end of that film, you had the Penguin in a dirty onesie with black bile coming out of his mouth. This is not His Honor the Penguin. This is, oh God, he's really creepy, and that poodle woman is really like kind of messing with my mind right now. And there was really a backlash against that film, because suddenly McDonald's was upset, the toys that were associated with it didn't sell as well. So when they did Batman Forever, they lightened the tone. They brought in a new director, they brought in a new writer, a couple new producers, a new composer, a new Batman. Alfred and Commissioner Gordon pretty much stayed the same. And that film did phenomenally well. Like, they were legit surprised that it did as well as it did. So the studio, again, looking at the trend, said, well, this is what people want. And since we were on the back foot with the merchandising in the last film, we're going to bring the toy company in to help us design the film, which is why you had different costumes. Now, I would also argue that by the early 90s, like, Arctic wear Batman and undersea Batman were a thing anyways, so they just put that on screen. So ultimately, the reason why this film was made the way it was is because all of us that said we wanted a dark Batman film kind of screwed the pooch on that, because it backfired. So, in conclusion, this is our fault, and I think we need to accept responsibility. Thank you.